Forced ascension. Okay, you asked for confessions, the real messy kind you wouldn't dare whisper outside of polite company. Gosh, I never thought I'd be the one writing something like this. My name's Paige, though that feels strange to say now, like it belonged to someone else. Back home, my old village, they'd call this pure wickedness, burning in hell stuff. But here it feels like truth. Like coming up for air after drowning my whole life. You know, I screamed bloody murder when Pa told me I was betrothed to Elder Thomas, 60 if he was a day, smelled like mothballs and piety. I even ran away once. Made it almost to the county line before they dragged me back, shamed and sobbing. That's when Pa shipped me off to Cousin Martha's place, this other branch of our faith across the valley. He figured the stricter rules would break my spirit. The irony. I mean, I arrived expecting more of the same suffocating gray, women bundled head to toe, men scowling at any hint of a smile. But right away, things felt different. The girls here, their dresses weren't quite so high at the neckline, showed a sliver of collarbone, maybe even a hint of wrist. And the men, they listened to the radio. Music, right out in the open. Not hymns, but real songs, the kind that made your toes tap inside your sensible shoes. It felt dizzying, dangerous, like stepping onto a carnival ride after years of kneeling on hard pews. Then I saw him. Adam. He stood head and shoulders above everyone else, not just in height, but in presence. 38, Martha whispered, a young elder, the leader here. Handsome isn't even the word. Strong jaw, eyes that seem to look right through your cotton dress, straight into the fluttering mess inside your chest. He moved with this easy confidence, like the earth itself shifted to accommodate him. I learned he was some sort of distant cousin, not by blood thank goodness, and that he already had 4 wives. 4. And looking for another, they said. The younger girls practically tripped over themselves to fetch him water, giggling behind their hands, their eyes shining when he spoke. And me? I felt this awful, thrilling pull low in my belly every time he walked by. Shameful. Wonderful. The Bible studies were different too. Not just fire and brimstone, but talk of pleasure. Of individuality within devotion. Of how God rejoiced in the love between a man and his wives, a real passion. Adam led them, his voice deep and resonant, calling himself a prophet, chosen to bring a new message of love and abundance to his people. He spoke of visions, of understanding God's true desires for our bodies and souls. Crazy, right? But sitting there, listening, feeling that warmth spread through me whenever his gaze lingered, it started to feel less crazy. Maybe this was where I belonged. Maybe he was why I'd fought so hard against that dusty old Elder Thomas. I started dreaming about him. Awful, vivid dreams where his strong hands touched my face, slid down my neck. I'd wake up gasping, damp between my legs, heart pounding like a trapped bird. Then the whispers started about the Ascension ceremony. How girls were inspected. Chosen for marriage. My blood ran cold. I didn't want that. Not like some prize heifer at auction. But Martha just smiled this secretive little smile and said it was an honor, that I was scheduled. The fear was a cold stone in my gut. The day arrived. Older women, stern-faced but gentle-handed, took me to a bathing room. They scrubbed me raw, every inch. Then, the shaving. Everywhere. Down there. I was mortified, trembling, but they were efficient, impersonal. After, they presented me with a gown. Oh, that gown. Sheer white nylon, flimsy as a cobweb. You could see everything through it. My pale skin, the shadow of my newly bared mound, the tight buds of my breasts. It felt like wearing nothing at all, just a whisper of fabric against my skin. They led me, barefoot and shivering despite the warmth, down a hushed hallway to a plain wooden door. He was there. Adam. Alone. The room was dim, just a single lamp casting long shadows. He looked even taller, more imposing. He didn't speak, just looked at me, his gaze traveling slowly down the length of the sheer gown, lingering. I felt utterly exposed, naked under that thin veil. He stepped closer. I could smell him, clean sweat and something earthy, masculine. He reached out, not roughly, but with an authority that brooked no argument, and slowly, pulled the gown off my shoulders. It slithered down my body, pooling at my feet. I stood there, utterly bare, my arms instinctively trying to cover myself. He made a soft sound, almost approval, and gently pushed my hands down to my sides. "Stand still, Paige," he murmured, his voice like gravel. His eyes roamed over me, taking in my small breasts, my narrow waist, the smoothness between my legs. He touched my cheek, then trailed a finger down my neck, over my collarbone, circling one nipple until it tightened into a hard peak. A gasp escaped me. He did the same to the other, his touch light but deliberate, sending shivers through my whole body. I was trembling, but it wasn't just fear anymore. This awful, delicious heat was building inside me, a throbbing low in my belly. He saw it. I know he did. A small smile touched his lips and he turned his head to kiss me. I didn't protest. He consumed my mouth so gently, his tongue exploring softly, wet, so wet. It was a divine kiss, one that I would never forget. Once he broke the kiss, he pulled up a chair and sat down before me. I flinched as his hands slid up my inner thighs, parting them. His fingers brushed against my most secret place, finding it already slick, swollen. I whimpered. He looked up at me, his eyes dark, intense. "You feel that warmth, Paige?" he asked softly. "That is God's gift. His approval." He touched my wet slit again, a firmer stroke that made my knees buckle slightly. I could see the bulge straining against the front of his trousers. He was aroused. Very aroused. The sight sent another wave of heat crashing through me. He stood up, towering over me. He unfastened his trousers, freeing himself. He was magnificent. Thick, rigid. My mouth went dry. He cupped the back of my head, not roughly, but with undeniable pressure. "Show your devotion, little one," he commanded, his voice low. "Show your prophet your willingness." I hesitated, panic warring with this terrifying, overwhelming need. I mean, I'd never, but the look in his eyes, the sheer presence of him, it was like a physical force. Reluctantly, trembling, I sank to my knees before him. The scent of him, musky and male, filled my senses. He guided himself towards my lips. I closed my eyes, opened my mouth. He filled it. It was strange, salty, overwhelming. He groaned, a deep rumble in his chest, as I tentatively moved my tongue. "That's it," he murmured, his hand tightening slightly in my hair. "Take me deeper. Show me your surrender." And despite the shock, the strangeness, a spark ignited. Pleasing him, it felt powerful. Necessary. I let him guide the rhythm, losing myself in the act, in the sounds he made, in the throbbing ache building between my own legs. He grunted and closed his eyes, he was tightening up. I didn't know what was happening, this was my first time after all. The first time for anything. He held his breath and something burst into my mouth, a strange tasting liquid, astringent and bitter. I couldn't stand it, but it pulsed into my throat. I coughed and coughed, spitting out what I had, but once I finished, his thing entered my mouth again. Back and forth again and I could feel the flavor again, more came out and I swallowed accidentally, sending it down to my stomach. He looked down at me with such satisfaction. And I oddly loved him looking down at me pleased. "Good girl," he said simply, before lifting me up and hugging me so close and gentle. I closed my eyes and let the warmness wash over me and my body humming with unspent desire. It was so fitting and complete, I felt complete. Several days crawled by. I couldn't think straight. Couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep without dreaming of his touch, the feel of him in my mouth, the commanding tone of his voice. Every time I saw him walking among the others, speaking kindly to a child, laughing with one of his wives, that heat flared back, intense and shameful. And then, the predictions started. He'd stand up during evening gathering and speak in this strange, resonant voice about things happening far away, in America. A plane crash. A political scandal. A new invention. Days later, someone would come back from town with a newspaper, and his words would be there, printed in black and white. Exactly as he'd said. My skin prickled. Could it be true? Was he truly touched by God? The prophet? Then, Sarah, one of the younger wives, confided in me, her eyes wide with awe. She'd suffered terrible pains, or in her words, aches and itches, she said, a woman's ailment that left her so unsettled. Adam had healed her. How? I asked, fascinated. She just blushed, looked down, and said, he knows, the ways. The sacred ways. He touched me, inside, and the itch goes away. She wouldn't say more, but the implication, the mystery of it, made my heart race. His power seemed undeniable. Divine. He summoned me again. Not for Ascension, he said, but to assist him in a ceremony for another. Relief warred with a fierce, almost painful curiosity. Of course I agreed. The preparation was the same, the scrubbing, the shaving, the sheer white nylon gown that left nothing to the imagination. They led me to a different room, softly lit. Adam stood near a low couch. And there was another girl. Younger than me, so young, with hair like spun gold and a face like a perfect angel. She looked terrified, trembling in her own sheer gown. Adam gestured for me to stand near her. He began the inspection, just as he had with me. He slowly removed her gown, his hands moving over her delicate frame with that same deliberate authority. He touched her breasts, small and high, brushed his fingers over her smooth mound, parted her thighs. She whimpered, but I saw her body responding, just like mine had. A flush spread over her chest, her nipples hardened, and I could see the faint glistening slickness between her legs. The sight, it did something to me. A strange pull, a fascination mixed with a jolt of pure arousal that shocked me. She was so pretty, so innocent. Adam guided her to her knees and then looked at me. Paige, he said, his voice calm but commanding. Kneel before your little sister. Show her the comfort of our bond with your lips. My breath hitched. Kiss her. I hesitated, looking from his intense gaze to the girl's wide, frightened eyes. But the command was absolute. Slowly, I sank to my knees before the trembling girl. I reached up, cupped her face. She was so soft. I leaned in, pressed my lips gently to hers. She gasped, a tiny sound, but didn't pull away. Her lips were sweet, yielding. Encouraged, I deepened the kiss, my tongue tentatively touching hers. The softness was so wet and gentle I couldn't believe how this felt. Growing up, one never thinks about other women being a source of pleasure, but her lips were making my mind spin with thoughts. Adam's hand settled on my shoulder, a warm, heavy weight. Touch her, he murmured. Show her the path to pleasure God provides. My hand, trembling, moved down her slender body. I cupped her small breast, felt the frantic beat of her heart beneath my palm. Her skin was so soft, I could feel the gushing in my folds, the softness, the innocence, the submission, all of it made me so wet. I couldn't believe it. My fingers trailed lower, over her flat stomach, through the soft of her shave mound, finding the wet heat between her legs. She moaned softly against my mouth as I touched her there, exploring her folds with a growing boldness fueled by Adam's presence, by the intoxicating scent of her arousal, by my own desperate need. We were both panting, slick with desire. Adam undid his trousers. He stepped closer. Both of you, he ordered, his voice thick. Serve your prophet. The young girl and I exchanged a glance, a shared understanding born of this intense, forbidden moment. Together, we knelt before him. His manhood was massive and hard now. From the lower angle, it looked too big to fathom. We admired it as if it were a gift from God. Together, we took him into our mouths, taking turns, our tongues swirling, our lips moving, lost in the shared act of worship. The thickness filled up my mouth, stretching my lips. I couldn't believe the size, the flavor. The sounds he made, the feel of his hardness, the shared intimacy with this beautiful girl. It was overwhelming, decadent. The tension built, thick and heavy in the room. Just when I thought he would release, his grunting growing more frequent, he pulled back. He turned to the young girl. Stood her up and guided by her hand to the couch. He gently laid her down on her back onto the plush leather. She looked up at him with huge, trusting eyes. He spread her legs out wide, positioned himself between her legs. He looked at me, pinning me with his gaze. "Watch, Paige," he commanded. "Watch as innocence is offered unto God." He leaned over her, his powerful body covering hers. I saw his hips push forward. I saw her eyes fly wide, a sharp gasp tearing from her throat. He moved 1 inch at a time, giving time for her to adjust to the pain. Lasted what seemed like forever, but she finally was able to take it, and then he started to move in slow, deliberate thrusts. She cried out, a mixture of pain and shock, but Adam murmured something low, soothing, his body never ceasing its rhythm. I couldn't look away. The sight of him taking her, claiming her innocence, the raw power of his movements, his muscular back, a fierce, sharp pang of jealousy shot through me, hotter than anything I'd felt before. I wanted that. I wanted him to be inside me, to feel that claiming force. The sounds filled the room, his low grunts, her soft whimpers turning into something else, something breathy and wanting. He moved faster, harder, his muscles straining. Her whimpers became louder, pained moans. She was feeling it too. With a final, deep groan, he shuddered, frozen inside her. I could see the strained look on his face turn into pleasure. I thought back to the time he deposited a liquid into my mouth and thought this could be the same thing, still something I didn't understand. He let out a sigh, collapsing onto her for a moment before pulling back. He stood up, leaving her trembling and glistening on the couch. She had tears in her eyes. He turned to me, still hard, glistening with her wetness and his own release. He gestured towards himself. "Clean your prophet, Paige," he said, his voice rough. "Make me pure." Without hesitation, driven by a need I couldn't name, I knelt. I took him into my mouth, tasting their mingled essence and the metallic taste of blood. I wanted to cough, but I held it back, knowing what my prophet required. I kept cleaning him with my tongue, swallowing the salty tang. It felt like communion with the blood of an innocent. An act of profound submission and belonging, a true connection to God. After that, I was lost. Utterly consumed. I couldn't stop thinking about him dominating that young girl, the raw power, the control. I burned for him. Craved that same surrender, that same claiming. So when the invitation came for the sisterhood ceremony, my heart leapt. Again, the ritual bath, the shaving, the sheer white gown. This time, I was led not to a room, but down a narrow staircase into a cool, stone-walled basement. Candles flickered, casting dancing shadows. And there they were. 10 women, maybe more, all dressed in identical sheer white gowns, standing in a silent semicircle. Sisters. Adam stood at the center, dressed simply in white trousers and a white shirt open at the neck. His presence filled the space. He moved slowly along the line. One by one, each woman sank to her knees before him. One by one, he freed himself, and each took him into her mouth, serving him with reverence, their eyes closed in devotion or fixed adoringly on his face. The air grew thick with the scent of arousal, the soft wet sounds, the low hum of his pleasure. He came to me. My turn. My knees hit the cool stone floor. I looked up at him, my prophet, my desire. I didn't wait for a command. I leaned forward, taking him deep, worshipping him with my mouth and tongue, pouring all my desperate need into the act. I heard his sharp intake of breath, felt his hand rest heavily on my head. I served him with everything I had, until he gently pulled me back. He took my hand, leading me to the center of the room where a low, sturdy table stood draped in white linen, an altar. He produced long, soft white scarves. "Bend over, Paige," he commanded softly. Face down. Offer yourself completely. Trembling, not with fear but with overwhelming anticipation, I obeyed. I lay prone on the cool linen, the stone altar firm beneath me. He lifted the hem of my flimsy gown, bearing me completely from behind. He used the scarves with practiced ease. He tied my wrists together behind my back, the knot firm but not painful. Then he tied my ankles, spreading my legs slightly, securing them to the legs of the altar. I was bound, exposed, utterly vulnerable. Helpless. And the thrill of it was like nothing I'd ever known. I felt him move behind me. Felt his hands on my hips, lifting me slightly. Felt the hard, blunt pressure against my most secret entrance. It was like a hard ball. I held my breath. This is your ascension page, he murmured, his voice thick with promise. Receive your prophet. And then he pushed inside an inch. I screamed into my own mouth, trying not to let out a sound. It was like I was being torn apart. It stung, but as he held there inside my gates, the pain subsided. Then again, another inch, and again, each time he waited for me to adjust. Oh, the fullness. The stretching, burning sensation that quickly melted into an all-consuming pressure, a deep, primal claiming. He filled me completely. I was soaking wet so I could feel the lubrication opening the way for smoother entry. He began to move, slow, deep thrusts that rocked my entire body against the altar. I cried out now, a sound of pure surrender, lost in the sensation of being taken, possessed. He gripped my hips, his fingers digging in, setting a slow, relentless rhythm. In. Out. So deep. The slap of skin against skin echoed in the basement, mingling with my gasps and his low groans. He was owning me. Every thrust drove deeper, shattered any last remnants of my innocent body. I was his vessel, his sacrifice, his devoted follower. The pleasure built, a terrifying wave threatening to drown me, centered on that point where he filled me, stretched me, claimed me. It crested, crashed over me in a blinding, shuddering release that left me sobbing into the linen, my body convulsing. My hands were tied behind my back, so all I could do is rock side to side violently as his rod still impaled me. The sensation was incredible and my breathing was so heavy, my mind pained and flying at the same time. He drove into me once, twice more, then still buried deep, a guttural cry tearing from his throat as he released his liquid heat inside me, marking me as his. The slickness was immense. So much of it was hitting my insides. I could finally understand why women wanted this so much, this simultaneous owning of the mind then the marking of a powerful man's territory inside you with his seed. He collapsed over me for a moment, his weight a comforting burden, breathing heavily. I was weak, trembling, utterly spent. Then he slowly withdrew. He started to untie the scarves with gentle hands, helping me up, my eyes opened and I could see all the women, naked on their knees looking at me. I felt the sting of shame drill into me. He looked down at me, his expression softened, almost tender. He gestured towards himself, still glistening with our mingled essence. Wordlessly, I slid off the altar, sinking back to my knees. I leaned forward, cleaning him with my mouth once more, tasting myself, tasting him, tasting my own blood, sealing the covenant between us. It felt sacred. Complete. He had taken my innocence, and in its place, given me purpose. Belonging. That was months ago. Now? I help prepare the new girls for their ascension. I bathe them, shave them, help them into the sheer white gowns. I see the fear in their eyes, the confusion, and I smile gently. I tell them of the prophet's love, of the joy that awaits in surrender. I worship Adam with every breath. I am his fifth wife now. He protects me, provides for me, guides me. And I love submitting to him. Love the strength of his will, the certainty of his commands, the sheer power of his possession. He is touched by God. I know it in my bones, in the satisfied ache between my legs, in the peace that fills me when I kneel at his feet. You probably thought this story would end with me escaping, didn't you? running back to my old life or screaming to the authorities. I surprised myself too. But here's the truth they never tell you: not all these places hold women by force. Some of us, we find our home here. We find what we secretly craved all along. A strong man. A real man. One who doesn't coddle or beg, but commands. Who takes responsibility, protects what's his, and knows how to unlock the pleasure God meant for a woman. Most men out there, they're weak. Uncertain. They ask permission for everything. A strong man, a worthy man like my prophet, he deserves many women. He has the strength to lead, to love, to satisfy completely. And we have the blessing of turning off our frantic minds, of letting go, of being cherished and protected and utterly known in our submission. So yeah, go ahead, judge me. Call me brainwashed. But if you're a woman reading this, being honest with yourself in the quiet dark, don't you sometimes wish for it too? That strong hand on the back of your neck? That voice that leaves no room for doubt? That feeling of being completely overwhelmed, owned, and safe? I know you do. I felt it long before I met Adam. I just didn't have the words. Now I do. This is my confession. My truth. And I wouldn't trade it for all the freedom in the world.